We are live. Hell of a Show is live on Monday night, ready to go and have some fun on here. If you can, let me know you can see and hear me over there so I know I'm not just talking to myself. I do enough of that on the regular day. I don't need to do that at nighttime as well. I start getting a complex after that. So let me know if you can see and hear me. I'd certainly appreciate that. And we will get going with this. We've got a great show planned out tonight. A good little panel that we've got set up on here so far. A couple of people who are still ready to come in, haven't come into the backstage just yet. We'll catch them as they come in. They said they're going to be a little bit late. I think that, whenever they come in late on the show, they're supposed to do chicken dance or something like that. I'm a little teapot. We'll figure something out. But let me know if you can see and hear me. Get those shares going out there, and let's get ready to have some fun because it's hell of a showtime on here. Hope y'all had a great week and had a lot of productivity out there and was being positive the entire time because that's what this show is all about. So aside from it being just me up here, let's go ahead and make this a little more interesting. Let's go ahead and bring some guests up here. First off, let's go ladies first because I am a gentleman. Let's go ahead and bring Madeleine Holly Rosing up here.
Hi.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
Hey, absolutely. And we have also got the art of William Russell himself.
Hey, what's up, guys? Thank you again for having me, Phil.
Hey, absolutely. It is my pleasure. And let's see. Tim says, I can see you. I don't know if he can hear me or not. Well, I guess we can talk about Tim now because he can only see me. Well, I mean, we're going to have some fun with this, and we're going to get into some shenanigans on here for certain. Usually always happens. And we're going to start off first by finding out who everyone is on this because not everyone knows who everyone is on here. So, Madeleine, ladies first, go ahead and let us know who you are, what you do, and where to find you.
Sure. So my name is Madeleine Holly Rosing. I am the writer-creator of the steampunk, supernatural, graphic novel, prose, and audio drama series, Boston Metaphysical Society. And if you're not familiar with the story, it's about an ex-Pinkerton detective, a spirit photographer, and a genius scientist who battles supernatural forces in late 1800s Boston. You can currently find me on Kickstarter with our brand new series, Mystery at Pikes Peak, and also Facebook, Twitter, all the usual suspects.
Awesome. I mean, it almost sounds like you've done this before. It's like you have this just ready to just roll off the tongue.
I've had a little practice, yes.
Now, we've got someone else who popped in the back. Let me go ahead and bring him up here. We've got Don Walker is here.
Hey, hi, Don.
What's up, Don?
What's up, Madeleine?
What's going on, Don?
Not much, man.
Now,
Hey,
Don,
you guys?
hey, we're live, so I mean, I'm just letting you know ahead of time before you go over there and start, fixing your hair or anything, because I already had fixed mine before we got on whenever we went live.
High and tight. It's all good.
All right, we're going to go ahead and go to William next. We're going to find out, William, who are you? What do you do? And where do you find you?
My name is William Russell. I am a cover artist and creator. I am the creator of Psycho Sal, which is about a serial killer in New Orleans in the 1980s. Issue number 3 is currently on Kickstarter. I've done cover art for indie projects, Image Comics, Dynamite, a bunch of retailer exclusives, things like that. You can find me, of course, on Facebook and Instagram. That's the only 2 platforms I mess with. So it's a little easier to find me that way, I think. I can't hide too much.
You don't seem like you want to hide too much. I mean, you've always got opinions on things that some people kind of think, wow, that's really cool that you have opinions, that you're that, boisterous.
That I'm dumb enough to open my mouth about? Yeah.
I said boisterous. I was going professional.
Yeah. Yeah. One of these days I'll catch on to what everyone else does and I'll sit down and be quiet and kind of keep all that stuff to myself so I don't rock the boat.
Oh, no, rocking the boat's fun sometimes because sometimes it takes someone to kind of point fingers and say, what is wrong with this scenario? And that's one thing that we're going to kind of touch on tonight, just a little bit, is one of the questions I want to bring up, and we're going to be getting into that. But first, hey, Don, who are you? What do you do? And where can we find you, man?
I am Don Walker. I'm the writer, penciler of books like Agent Wild, Reaper Corps, and the newly released Dreadlock, the Barbarian. And you can find me and my books on www.dorkempireinc.bigcartel.com, Instagram at Don_Space Knight, and on Facebook as Don Walker. Like William, I just rock with 2 social medias. I'm not trying to be everywhere. It's hard enough getting work done and socializing as it is.
Very, very true.
It's super simple.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, and all three of y'all are really busy with a lot of projects you've been working on. Don, last time I had you on, you had an art book that you were working on that you finished up the Kickstarter and everything went. Did fulfillment go okay on that? Okay.
No, actually, so we had about $700 in drop pledges,
Oh,
which put a big fat halt to that project. And then financially, my wife and I are a little hard up for money. She lost her job for a while, about 8 months, so we are behind on everything, bills, car notes, the whole bit. So I'm tweaking the artwork. I'm adding some stuff because it's going to be late, obviously. So I'm trying to give people a little more bang for their buck while they're waiting. But we've got to get our finances right so I can start putting money back into that campaign to finish it off and print it.
absolutely, absolutely. Now, first off, I want to give you props on the fact that you just said, I'm going to finish it up and get it out there, because that's one thing that I wanted to bring up tonight is the importance of completing the job. And I don't mean just completing as in you finish writing something, you turn it in and it's done. I mean, Madeleine, you've done so much writing. You've done, screenplay stuff. You've done, stuff for TV, movies. You've done, of course, comics, books. I mean, if it's got words in it, you've probably had something to do with it somewhere in there. And it's very important to have that completed and done. But there's another level to the completion. It's not just complete as soon as you turn it in. It actually has to be pushed out, and then people have to have it in their hands. You can't just have it where they get it and, they know that you have it out there and nobody has it in their hands. And they're like, it would be really cool to have a William Russell book. I've heard these things are great, but I don't have one in my hands. Mm-hmm. That's one thing that is very important, to have that level of completion that is out there. And that's one thing that I wanted to bring up. But before I do, our last guest is here. Now, did we decide on chicken dance or teapot? Which one did we decide on for getting in here late? We'll figure it out.
Okay.
I think it was something about. I think the late ones had to go back whatever current Kickstarters were active or something. I think it was something like that.
Something like that. It was.
Oh yeah, that seems fair.
They had to go in and share the Kickstarters. That's what it was. We didn't want to, demonetize them a bunch, but they had to share every one of them. So I'm sorry, Lee, but you got to share every one of them.
All right, you got it. I was thinking instead of the chicken dance or any of that, maybe we could do like the crazy train, because I come in late. I'm like,
we'll get some feet pics from him and put him on the OnlyFans pages.
There you go. James says, cool, I found the live feed, seen no notifications. I'm gonna tell you right now, I've been having major problems, and I've heard a lot of people have as well. Yep. Skynet, otherwise known as Facebook, otherwise known as Meta, whatever they're calling themselves nowadays, it's Skynet. They're not doing the notifications correctly, so I apologize for that, because even tagging people is not showing up until like a day or two later, which really hurts production that way.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
We've got Tim said that he will do the teapot next time. So Tim has taken that opportunity to go ahead and do the teapot. So Lee, go ahead and thank Tim for that. He'll take care of that one for you. Tim said he got one from YouTube. See, exactly. That's not Skynet. I see a pattern here. But before we get into all of the talk that we're about to get into here, Lee, go ahead and take a moment and let us know who you are, what you're working on, and where to find you.
Okay, I'm Lee Jiles. I'm publisher at About Time Comics and creator of Godsend, In-Flight Service, and Red Scare. And we currently have a Kickstarter campaign going for Red Scare #2. We have 9 days remaining and we're funded, but we're, want to go above and beyond. So
awesome. Well, and we're definitely going to be talking about that. The main thing that I like to do on my shows is find out, that everybody is actually human. We don't deal with the red eye, Terminator types out here. So if I see red eyes, I'm gonna have to hit the eject button pretty quick. So just make sure there's no glare from your computers accidentally, anybody. But we're just gonna make sure you're human and have that human factor to you in the creator, department out there. And one thing that's very important is one thing we kind of start on right before Lee got in here, and I'm glad you're here to get in right at the time you did, which is the importance of completing the work. Meaning it's not good enough to go ahead and say that you're working on something, you finish writing it, or you finish doing the art on it or something like that, and then all of a sudden nobody has it in their hands. it needs to get out there. It needs to be complete. It needs to be fulfilled. You know, people need to have these things out there because if they pay for something, they deserve to be getting something that they paid for. I mean, that's just general life. That's not even just comics. That's life.
Yep.
I'm going to go ahead and kind of go around and ask just a little bit on this one. What is your thought process whenever you get into something? I'm going to start with Don on this one. Don, because I love putting people on the spot, and you look like you were just looking off to the distance just a little bit, and I was like, I got you. I got one. See, the thing you take from that is always pay attention to the show. You never.
Yeah, that's probably my fault.
Miss it anytime because I'll catch you on it. I'll put big screen on that.
That's probably
my kid and my dog are walking around, so.
He was probably checking the terms of agreements on OnlyFans. That's probably my fault. Seeing how many feet pics he can get away with posting.
I don't know. I mean, I've got a sale on mine, but we'll talk about that later. Anyway, now, what is your thought process on whenever you're dealing with somebody, you know, backs you on something or somebody purchases something, and then you have the need, the feel to go ahead and get this thing out to them? What is your thought process on that? Do you feel like you need to get it out as soon as possible? Do you need to wait for the material to be on par for what you said? What kind of route do you go with this?
So there's an immense amount of pressure or weight. I think all of us will agree. There's a weight on us to get things done, like on time when they say they're going to be on time. Unfortunately, that's rarely the case, particularly for me. I write and draw everything, but I have inkers, letterers, colorists, and sometimes, you know, they often have other gigs. So when I'm done with something, I give it to them, but they're working on another gig. So I'm kind of like back in the queue a little bit for them, because they're all indie creators. All my guys are professionals. They're all working on something. So I can't go, no, me first, right? I have to go, okay, well, you get done with that, come to me. A lot of my stuff is late. I don't try to make things late. Oftentimes, I will do a Kickstarter when the book is written and penciled, at the very least, penciled. And then inkers, colors, and letters get to do their work when I have money to pay them. But also, will not put out a book that's not done correctly and well. Like, I won't speed up. If I hire somebody to do something, I will wait for them to be available to do it. Because I only work with really good people. I won't work with subpar people. I have like three inkers I work with, only 3. I have like 3 colorists that I'll work with on everything. 1 letterer, excuse me, Ed Dukeshire is my favorite letterer in the whole world. I will only work with Ed Dukeshire on my books. So sometimes they're not free when I want them to do stuff. And I try and be as forthright with backers, especially. Like, hey, look, here's what's happening. And I know 2021 and 22 were terrible years for me health-wise. I was in and out of the hospital with all kinds of medical issues. At one point, I was in the hospital for 5 days. I was on medication afterwards that would make me ridiculously tired for like 2 months. I didn't draw anything for 2 months. Things got behind for that. I would try to tell people, and most backers understand. Most backers like, cool, get your health right. Well, wait. Maybe you have 1 or 2 who are just upset. They want their stuff on time. They hate things being late. So I get it. I try to tell people, look, I understand. Don't want to back me ever again. I get it. But I'll get you your stuff when it's done, when it's good. I might be late sometimes, but it's going to be good. When you get it, it's going to be good. That I can pride myself on. I won't let bad material go out to a backer.
And that's why you would not hire me to do the stick figure cover. That's what I understand that now. I do. I mean, you know, at first I was hurt about it, but I'm okay now. But going kind of off of what you said, and you were talking about communicating, you know, I remember your post being on there and you're in the hospital. You've got, you know, little wires coming off you and everything. And you're like, I'm sorry, I'm late. I'll do better on this. And you're like apologizing while you're in there. I'm looking at it going, man, just get better. That's all we care about. Madeleine, I want to ask you, how important is it to go ahead and keep up the communication, whether it's positive or negative, that you've got out there whenever you've got a campaign that you're working with?
Oh, it's very important. You just have to keep your backers notified of what's going on. And it may not be something that they're going to like. I remember early on in my Kickstarter career, Emily Hugh was, we were still working on the original 6-issue miniseries. And she told me, she says, I have to take a break for 6 weeks. I'm like exhausted. I'm done. So, we're going to be late. And I said, well, the only thing that's important here is, one, you get better, because if she gets better, then she finishes the book. That's a win-win. So I just simply set out, to the backers, and I let them know exactly what's going on. I said, hey, she's taking, the month of December off and most of January. I'll let you know when she's back on it. And literally, like on January 15th, she started sending in, more pages, and I let people know, hey, she's back on it. Give us about another month. We'll be able to send it to the printer. And we went on from there. But so communication is just critical. You don't want to ghost your backers. I mean, to me, that's obvious. But
Exactly.
I guess maybe to some people it's not.
No, I mean, and I completely agree. I don't understand how it's not to some people, because it's above and beyond the comic industry. It's almost just, life. It's just integrity in general is where it actually falls on with that. Now, William, I know you've been you've had opinions on this subject, quite different times and all that and everything. And I'm trying to keep it kind of streamlined down, because we could have a show that would last for hours talking about this and going directly into this one subject alone. But I want to ask you, how does it impact you whenever you've got something that you're prepped and ready to work on and everything, and then someone either doesn't pay you for it or it doesn't come through and you don't get it? How does it affect you, like, as far as like your motivation and everything, how your emotions on that?
Well, I handle a little different than a lot of people. I don't ever have to worry about not getting paid, because I don't lift a pencil till I'm paid. So that'll never, ever happen. I won't start a project without 100% payment done, locked and over, because I know my credibility. I know my name. And some people I work with, it's my first time working with them, and I have no idea where they're coming from. So that part I don't have to worry about. So I don't have to fight nobody for my money. I don't have to argue with no one. As far as the other goes, I can't stand being late. It's one of my biggest pet peeves in the world. I understand things happen in life, and there's some things you won't be able to help. So that's why it's so important the rest of the time you be on time every time, because you're going to have those moments where, like Don said, that you get sick and you're in the hospital, or you've overworked yourself and you're stretched thin, like Madeleine was talking about. You're going to have those moments. And so that's why it's imperative for the rest of the time you be grinding it out and you leave the Xbox and PS5 and all this other crap alone and you do your job. As far as now, again, I like with the Kickstarter thing, I handle mine a little different. We're on the 3rd issue of Psycho Sal. My books have been 100% completed and done before the Kickstarter started. Not everyone can do that. I get that.
Right.
It's just one of those things, like I said, for me personally, I can't stand to be late. I can't stand to miss deadlines, and I refuse to do it. And again, that doesn't work for everyone, and that's okay. But so that's how I try to do it, to where I don't have to stress too much about things. And even then, you're going to have you'll have printing delays sometimes. You could have shipping delays sometimes because of a printer issue. Like on Psycho Sound #2, we had about a 2-week printing delay, even though the book was completed, done. When it went to the printer, they started printing. They had an issue with their printer, and they had to wait like 2 days, 3 days for a tech guy to come out and fix it, which put everything behind. So that's why I always try to tell everyone that when everything is going fine, just try to grind it as if you're already behind. And so far that's done me well. I haven't missed deadlines or anything like that. And 60 plus published covers in 2 years, and I've not missed a single one. Not saying I might never miss one, but as of right now, that's the way I treat it. But so that cuts down on the stress for me anyway.
And that is awesome to have that kind of record on there and be able to do that, because you've based it on your personal integrity, saying, I will not do this and will not get to this point because I'm setting the parameters on this, instead of opening it up and saying, I could take on more if I went ahead and did it this way. But then again, you're taking on that factor of the what ifs.
Yeah. Yeah, you
Now,
can't play
Lee,
the game with the what ifs. You just can't.
No, not at all. No. Lee, we're going to go ahead and go to you on this one. And since you're the last one that I'm going to ask this on this series of questions, we're actually going to bring up some of your artwork to show while we're doing this, so we can show that off as well. So the main thing is that I want to ask you is, what is something as far as like an obstacle that you've come across whenever you've been dealing with your campaigns and stuff that has been similar to what we've been talking about, as far as like not being able to get it out in time, a situation come up where you're, slowing down or whatever. What's an obstacle that you come up with, and how did you overcome that personally to go ahead and get to the part where you are now?
I think the biggest problem I've had was my last Kickstarter was for Godsend Trade Paperback Volume 1. All the artwork was finished. All I had to do was put the book together and send it to the printer. Well, the printer that I've never had a problem with is all of a sudden, I'm sure, getting a lot more business. So they have just now started printing that book, and that was in December when that ended. So that was frustrating, but I agree with what everybody said. You have to communicate, send out updates, let everybody know what's going on, where you are in the process, and just let them know that they will be getting their book. And like Don said, it's going to be good. It might be a little bit late, but you will get it. And so that's the really biggest problem I've run into so far. And also, like William said, having your book finished, like with the Godsend and with Red Scare #1, we had the book completely finished. Mm-hmm. So those were overall pretty smooth, except for this printing issue that I've run into now.
And we're
since we're now using my printer. December was when we had the issue with the printer. Was December. So
yeah, same for me. Yeah.
Yep. and sometimes it does happen. I mean, you can have the best printer that's on the market at the time, and if one or two of their machines goes down, you have no control of that, of course. So you've got to be able to take care of your patrons somehow, and the best way to do that a lot of times is just the communication. And I've had some people that, I've received emails and things from things that I've backed, and they will sit there and go, I am so sorry to send this. I have no news, but I'd like to go ahead and send an email and let you know that I'm at least, still got you in my thoughts and everything. Whereas I've got some other people that I haven't heard from in 2 to 3 years. So, those are kind of like, really? There's no emails, no communication, no nothing. You can't tell me that something fell off the face of the earth, anything. Those are the kind that not only you never back again, but yeah, they don't get a good word of mouth thing on them either. Yeah. But for good word of mouth, I'm going to put this out there. Red Scare is definitely something you want to look into, being on Kickstarter right now for issue 2. And if you haven't seen or read issue 1 on there, it is available as a catch up on there. But you had mentioned about Godsend. I wanted to kind of bring that up too, because that was another one that you had done that kind of got you a lot of attention on there and a lot of things that was going on. It got you some more momentum moving forward on this. What's the premise with Godsend that you have on there while I'm kind of going through some of the artwork?
Okay. Godsend is a kind of a supernatural hero. It's a story about a normal guy that comes into possession of an ancient weapon, and his life gets flipped upside down. He's being, pursued by demonic creatures, and he's also having to battle the modern incarnation of the Templar Knights. And so while this is happening, while he's starting a new job in a new city, and then of course he meets a girl. And so this first 6 issues is the complete origin story, and that's what we collected in the trade paperback.
Awesome. And I've got to say that just from going from the cover look on here, it's got a very 90s style look on it. So it's already got my attention. It just screams Image Comics and stuff like that on there. So I love that nostalgia on there that you had on there. And we've got
Ken Hunt
Dan saying good, cool concept, which is absolutely true. It is a cool concept. It's different. And
it's not one of those things where he was like avenging somebody's death or something. It's just like something happened and he gets kind of thrown into the middle of it. He's not, his parents didn't get gunned down or any of that. It's just so it's kind of just thrust upon him. There
you go. His superpower is not money. We'll put it that way. Now, going to the one that you've got currently on here, which is the Red Scare, what's the premise behind this one here? Because this is not your normal. It's not a normal war story. It's not a normal zombie story. It's got a little bit of extra mixed into there. I want you to kind of give your rendition, because if I say something, I'm going to end up giving something on there, spoiler alert, and I don't want to do that.
All right. Well, I will say that you, most of you probably know Scott Wilkie, and he is the co-creator of Red Scare. And he took my idea and made it make sense and put the puzzle pieces together. And he's the actual writer on the book. So, but Red Scare is set in the near future where Russia has invaded the United States and they won the war. And the way they won the war is that their soldiers were infected to come back as zombies. That was what helped them win the war. But now the zombies have gotten out of control. So the United States is divided up into districts and that are being run by the Russians. Our main character is Anatoly Severov, a Russian soldier who has kind of been disgraced, and he's escaped the Gulag, trying to find his family. And along the way, he meets up with these other two people, a woman who was a nurse and a guy who was actually, helping her escape from one of the districts. And he's kind of like a runner for the Russians. He has a few extra privileges. He can go out in his truck and, he picks them up candy bars and special magazines or whatever they want, and he gets special privileges for it. So that's kind of where the first issue ends. And then when they meet up, that's where we start with the second issue, when we kind of get into the story, really the thick of the story in the second issue.
Nice. Very nice. And like I said, it seems like a really cool setup on there. It's kind of like I don't know, it's almost got like it's a different zombie feel. It's not your cookie cutter zombie, storyline on there where it's just, post-apocalyptic and just trying to survive. There's a lot more layers to it than that. And I don't want to go too far into what that is, but there's more to it. Trust me. Y'all have to check this out. It's definitely worth looking into. It's a fun read and setup and everything that's on there. Something that you want to look into if you like zombie type books and all. If you like horror, if you like action, if you like thrillers, it's got some comedy in there, some very dark comedy, but comedy. It's got a little bit of everything. So it's got something for a little bit of everybody on there. So it's something to definitely go check out and look into. And I will say this before everyone kind of looks at this going, okay, I got to start memorizing where these things are whenever people talk about them. You don't. I always put the links into the feeds on here. So in feeds you're watching this from, whether it be, Facebook, YouTube, or even Twitter, you can go to the description on there and all the links are on there. But wait until the end of the show, because you never know what else you're going to learn about this as we go along, because there's a lot of information that we're going through with all of this. Something that I wanted to bring up next is going to be, we're going to be talking to Madeleine about on here, because hers has actually been, this has been going on for quite some time. How long have you been doing, this series here?
I was told last year that it was our 10th anniversary. And
Nice.
I didn't even realize it. A fan said, 2022 was your 10th anniversary. I went like, what? Really? No, yeah, it is. We started with a 6-issue miniseries, which I just call Volume 1. It's in trade paperback now. What you're looking at there are our 4 standalone sequels, which are in Volume 2. And on Kickstarter is our new series called Mystery at Pikes Peak. Yeah, that's a cover of Volume 2, which contains not only the 4 sequels, but a bonus story as well, with art by Roberta Ingranata, who's currently doing Doctor Who for Titan Comics. And yeah, Book of Demons is in there, Ghosts and Demons, Spirit of Rebellion, and The Scourge of the Mechanical Men.
Oh, you're trying to throw me off now. Hang on a sec.
Yeah.
Nope, didn't get it.
Nope,
that's
wrong
the new
one. That's the new one. But that's okay. You go.
No, man, it's awesome. You've got a lot of different spinoffs going on with this and everything. 10 years of doing this, and the premise of the story being that the Pinkertons are in here. That automatically caught my attention because, old school Westerns I love, especially the ones that are based on the true historical facts and stuff. And then this one takes it to that next level of putting in some of the historical stuff with the sci-fi element on there. I love the way that you got that set up.
Yeah, it is definitely alternate history. And Samuel Hunter is our ex-Pinkerton, actually. He left for a very good reason. And that's Caitlin O'Sullivan, who's our medium and spirit photographer. Granville T. Woods is their genius scientist, and he is also a historical figure. He's an African-American scientist. Yeah, that's me at SheroCon a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
That was pre-pandemic. And that is one of our variant covers. What we're doing with Pikes Peak, which I haven't done before, is we have two variant. Our main covers are done by Angela Wu, and we have two variant covers, one for issue 1 by Rio Burton, and the one you're looking at right now is by Steph C. And they both, and everyone has just done a tremendous job. I couldn't be happier at the results. And we're also offering metal covers, a limited amount of only 25, about half are all gone. And so, yeah, we're trying some new things with this Kickstarter, which I haven't done before.
Very
also,
nice.
I've moved the team to Colorado. So we're exploring what I call the great states of America in the BMS universe.
That is awesome that you're able to, move it around and go to different areas, because it's not in a stale one place area and everything, and where everything takes place, because you kind of look at it going, when does the stage ever expand? You would think it would expand somewhere, and then you're actually taking it to different states and all. That's a great concept to go, because now you get a whole different level of scenery on each of the expansions you get on here.
Yeah, and Caitlin and the team get introduced to the West, because they've never been there before. And so it's very interesting for them, because the world of Boston Metaphysical, the government is actually a parliamentary oligarchy. And so the great states of America is ruled by industrial families. And so different regions are essentially controlled by different families. And there's the politics between them, and murder and espionage and all sorts of fun stuff. And then we have our folks who sometimes get stuck in the middle of it, because they either are in the wrong place at the wrong time, or happen to have abilities that may reveal something that someone doesn't want revealed.
And that is something that is interesting to kind of throw out there, because the not having it revealed, it's not like you're just walking around with an S on your chest or anything. You actually want to kind of keep it as secret as possible, especially whenever you don't understand the abilities themselves. That can play into it as well, because you never know what's going to happen. Therefore, you want to keep it under wraps as much as possible. And I like the way that you've got that kind of in there with the layers.
Yeah, and it's been a lot of fun. And I do interject actual history whenever it's possible. This is fictional. I'll say it is fictional. There will be references to real life occurrences that did happen. But the main thing that we're dealing with, the undercurrent in Pikes Peak, is, for those of you who may or may not have heard of it, in American history, there's a thing called the Chinese Exclusionary Act. I don't remember the date that happened right off the top of my head, but it was essentially they wanted the male workers into the country to work on the railroads and the mines, but they didn't want their families to come, because they didn't want them taking root in this country. Well, I posited the question, what if the Chinese Exclusionary Act never happened? What would California look like?
Ooh, that's a good question.
And so that's what I did here with the introduction of a new character, Mai Hui Chow, who is a female scientist from the Great House Chow in California. And so we're getting a little bit more of her perspective of coming from the West and coming from a Chinese house that has, it's not quite as powerful as those on the East Coast, not yet, but it's up and coming.
Nice.
So it's a lot of fun.
Now, it's a good thing that you mentioned that this is fictional, because I saw Don looking down, so I'm sure he was going to, he's checking your math on that one to make sure everything was on the up and up on there. Because Don's got a campaign, a project that he's working on, and his is historical fact. I know it's got to be, because I've seen this on the news before. Dreadlock the Barbarian. We're going to talk about that one right now. Don, go ahead and let us know the premise behind Dreadlock the Barbarian, because this already looks interesting as something different in a futuristic setup on here with some other elements to it.
Yeah, so I call Dreadlock a swashbuckling cybernetic western or cyberpunk western.
Yes.
It's a spin-off of sorts from a book I had published already called Reaper Core. Excuse me. So I do a shared universe with Dork Empire Inc. My previously published book, Agent Wild, is in a modern day. Reaper Core and now Dreadlock are in the future, the far future of this exact same universe. So the setting for Dreadlock, after a war with an alien race devastates mankind's population from like 14 billion people to less than 300 million people, mankind is resettling Earth, and society consists of natural-born humans, cloned humans, which you see in this page here, this pasty guy on this panel here, that's a cloned human. Clones were created by an AI called Father during this war with an alien race, and Father created the clones that look like Nosferatu, like vampires. That's kind of his deal, make them look scary to the alien race. They did not prove too successful, so then Father creates sentient cyborgs. These cyborgs, there's about 3 million cyborgs on the planet Earth, roughly 300 million humans, probably 100 million clones. They don't all get along. And that's kind of the basis of the Reaper Core book, which I'm sold out of now. I'm hoping to reprint that this year. So
Nice.
most of mankind lives in megacities, and the humans that don't care for the cyborgs or the clones end up leaving the megacities and settling which I call the New West, which is basically the west coast of what used to be the United States, essentially over the mountains to what's now the high desert, between the high desert, which is now like Victorville and like San Bernardino, through like Arizona, is like where the New West territories reside. Dreadlock is a former human soldier who left the megacities to be out here in the New West for adventure, for just who wanted to do his inalienable human rights to live his life how he wants to. Where the megacities, the cyborgs don't allow humans to do a lot of jobs that are deemed dangerous because there are so few humans left. So the cyborgs are kind of like, no, we'll handle all the hard stuff. Y'all just hang out, right? And the basis of this book is kind of like, my wife and I, we're both sci-fi nerds, and my wife's a big Trekkie or a Trekker. I'm more Star Wars, she's Trekker. And the idea of the Star Wars or Star Trek universe, where all mankind's needs are kind of given to them, so they can pursue other things like, personal growth or education and all that. I would think a lot of people would rebel against that kind of society. I don't think human nature is to be kept by anybody, by technology, by cyborgs. And so Dreadlock and his crew are free-spirited humans who want to live like footloose and fancy-free. They skirt the law a lot. In the book, there's a clone army called Red Storm, and they are the law out here in the New West. But most humans can't stand clones, so they're put upon big time. And so Dreadlock and crew are kind of like piratey bandits types. They do a lot of good, but doing good, they make a lot of enemies. And so the character's name is Calvert Locke, Calvert after my dad, who passed away in 2010. But they call him Dreadlock the Barbarian because of the dreadlocks, and he ends up getting a lot of trouble and causing a lot of grief for some people in the New West. And so the Dreadlock the Barbarian is more of a hateful moniker that he kind of just leans into as out here getting in trouble in adventures and whatnot.
Nice. I mean, it seems like a cool story on there. Like I said, it's got a lot of different layers that are involved in there, but it definitely has the nostalgia of the Thundar the Barbarian, that kind of stuff. You can definitely see those kind of things mixed into there. I mean, I immediately saw that whenever I was looking at it. And then it has more involved in there. There's more story that's involved. And I really like that. And like Dan had said earlier, the colors look awesome. It is. They really pop on that page off of there. So great job on that as well.
Appreciate it. Yeah. I mean, my whole goal is okay.
No, go ahead.
No, my whole goal with Dork Empire Inc. is just to make fun comics. A lot of my work has been compared to like 90s comics also, which is cool. I'll take it. Like, my artistic influences are the John Ramirez, John Byrne, Alan Davis, Jim Lee to a certain degree, like everybody else. So, I just try and make fun stuff, but fun stuff with a story still, right? Like, I'm not gonna beat you over the head with the story, but like, there's story there. There's, like I said, there's layers that we're playing with. And this is a 0 issue. All my 0 issues, I did Agent Wild 0, Reaper 0, Dreadlock 0. Those are all one shots. They're all like pilots. So these sell well. I'll do more books. That's kind of the idea. And Dreadlock's book, I'm already writing his miniseries. I really want to do it because it's a lot of fun to write and draw. So hopefully end of the year or next year we'll start that. But there's a lot of social commentary going on, but like it's masked with a lot of like in your face action.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Now, speaking of in your face, we're going to go ahead and bring up something that's kind of got a split face on here because we're going to talk to William right now. This is one of his most sought after art pieces, if I'm not mistaken.
Nice.
That's the medal, correct?
Yeah, that's the medal. That was a trio piece that I did with some other creators, some other artists. I did the pencil work for it, the layout design, all the pencil work, and I had Mustafa do the inks for me, and Ariel Diaz did the colors for me. And we debuted that a couple years ago at MegaCon Orlando when all three of us were going to be there. So we did a little signing event there for the fans and stuff. So yeah, but yeah, it's definitely one of probably my most requested pieces at shows. And then in general, The Bat Who Laughs is him and Venom are probably my most requested commission pieces. So
exactly.
It's
and
beautiful.
I will say that I have your art book because I showed that on the last show we were on. I didn't have a chance to pull that one out for this one, but the book that got my attention from you was Don't Pay the Ferryman, because that's the first time I really saw your artwork and started kind of delving into what you do on there, because what we just showed on there to this one, that's how much range is in there. And that's not all, folks. I mean, I'm not doing the Porky Pig thing by any means, but that seriously is not all. I mean, he's got some range on this. Go ahead and let us know as we go through some of your art on here. Tell us how you got into doing your art, how you actually learned to get into the level you are.
Well, I mean, I've been doing this professionally now for 5 years. And prior to that, I grinded for about a year straight, doing 2 to 4 hours a day, 7 days a week while I worked my other career. And up until that point, I actually hadn't picked a pencil up in 10 years. And some reason, something just flipped one day, and I decided I wanted to get back into this. And I just went hardcore with it. And like I said, I grinded for about a year before I started putting myself on social media. And, that was, when I started putting myself out there 5 years ago, it just kind of started picking up. And, before too long, about 6 months in, I landed my first indie cover. And then a handful of months later, I landed like one of my first retailer published covers. I believe it was either Vampire. I think it was Vampirella number 18, or either it was Department of Truth number 10. I can't remember which one it was, but yeah, that, it just kind of blew up from there. And I've been real lucky. I've been real privileged with having a really solid fan base. I personally feel like I got some of the best fans that somebody could ask for. They've shown great love on pretty much every single cover I've done. And I mean, when you're a brand new artist and you got brand new fans and stuff like that, and you're doing, 500 print run retailer exclusives, for Image Comics and stuff like that, and they sell out half the books in day one. That's pretty damn good. That's a good fan base. So I'm super proud of those guys. They've been here since day one, a lot of them. And, as we moved into doing, all the covers that I've been privileged enough and lucky enough to do, now we're into Psycho Sal and the fans, a lot of people told me I was crazy trying to do a horror comic as my first comic, because obviously it's a much smaller niche market than, slapping an S on some superhero and calling it a day. But this is just a story that I've had in my head for a long time. And I've been real privileged to have a lot of really cool people helping me with the project. Chris Hayes writing it for me. And Chris Hayes was one of the ones that gave me some covers when I first got started doing, Don't Pay the Ferryman, The Detour, things like that. That's all under Charter Comics. And, so he's helped write Psycho Sal for me. I'm not a writer. I'm not even going to attempt to try to be a writer. So I give him my notes of what I need to happen in the book, the key points I need to get across. And then he fills in all the puzzle stuff in between those key points. And he does incredible. Psycho Sal is definitely nobody's hero. There won't be no confusing him with some kind of anti thing or anything like that. I wanted to go back old school horror. And we're actually, with McLean doing the lettering and my project managers and stuff with him and Chris and Charter Comics. And I bring on guest artists for the Kickstarters and stuff like most people do. But we're doing the book different than what probably most would have thought we were going to do. There's an actual style of way this is being written that I personally, I don't think I've ever seen or heard about. But the way the first set of books are, it's 9 issues. And the first 3 books were written by Chris Hayes, an incredible horror writer, like I was mentioning. And they're all written from the perspective of the FBI agents working the murders. And this takes place in New Orleans in the 1980s. And so we wanted to do things a little different. So right out the gate, normally with serial killers, they fit into a profile, which they hunt a certain way. They hunt certain types of people, et cetera, et cetera. With Psycho Sal, there's no patterns. It doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter what sex you are. It doesn't matter whether you're rich or poor. His palette of what he pulls from is everyone. For me personally, I think that kind of concept is terrifying. Don't get me wrong, serial killer in general is terrifying. But when you have it to where you've got someone now that isn't going after a certain sex or after a certain color or because they have a certain color hair, like all serial killers in the past have done, now you've got someone that you 100%, any person walking the street could be a victim. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, with the first 3 books and it being written from the FBI's perspective, when we get done with those first 3 books, we're going to move into 4, 5, and 6. And now that next batch of books are going to be written from a different perspective. Also, it's all from the perspective of one of the victims. So you follow her through her day-to-day life and everything, and you see this bubbly, lovey, just absolute sweet person. And as Psycho Sal plays these mind games and everything with her, you slowly seen her kind of just kind of lose her mind a little bit as all this is taking place. And it's also going to be written by a new writer to help sell that perspective change. So we're bringing in Lori, who's an incredibly talented writer. She does The Pale Rider, and she's going to be writing the next 3 books for me. Absolute sweetheart. And then as we move into 7, 8, and 9, we're going to change perspective again. Now you're going to be living the day-to-day life through Psycho Sal's eyes, and you're going to see how he sees people and his victims and things like that. And we'll change writers again at that point to help sell that feeling, because I mean, it doesn't matter how much you explain the story or they read the past issues, every single writer is going to write differently. And so I could have Chris write all of it and he could portray this different perspective, but we really, really wanted it to feel legit in changing those viewpoints. So and so far it's been a big hit. The first Kickstarter blew up. It funded within the first 15 minutes. It was live. Same thing happened with the second one. The third one funded in the first, I think it was 19 or 20 minutes. And it's part of the Charter Comics label, which has a ton of great comics and everything under that label. And Charter Comics is blowing up stupid. Everybody owns their own properties and things like that. Chris Hayes and McLean run Charter Comics, and they are some of the kindest, the hardest working damn people I've met in the industry. And they're the type of people, and that's what I love about Charter and with Chris and McLean, is they treat your project as if it's their project. They put 150% into what you're doing, even though it's yours. And they treat it with the same courtesy, the same love, the same respect that they would do their own property. And that's rare today. A lot of people just, I'm getting paid. Okay. Or, you need me to help with it. Okay. And they'll do what they need to do and they bounce. They heavily promote other indie people and creators that don't even have anything to do with Charter. And so, you guys definitely keep your eye on Charter Comics, because I'm telling you, the way they're rolling right now, they might be your next Image Comics.
Yep. I was definitely going to bring that up, because I definitely want to do a show and get them on to discuss some things, because they're thinking outside of the box, kind of like Image did, in the beginning, and saying, why are we doing this and coloring inside the lines? Why not color outside the lines? And they're doing that. Now, I don't want any, colorists to feel like I'm attacking you by any means. This is not an outside inside lines thing. This is just metaphorical, and not metaphorical like the Boston Society. See, now I'm all over the place now.
They're straight proving that, and something that I've preached for a long time, and they've had the same mindset as myself, and they're proving that. This is not, the way things are now is not pre-social media days anymore. It is not pre-internet. The platforms are so massive. There's fans for everything. It doesn't matter what you got going on. You can share other people's successes. You can share other people's content, because I don't care how good you are, how talented you are, how cute you might be, or whatever buttons you fit into. It doesn't matter, because you can't do all the work. Right. So it's okay to share other people and promote other people and shine a little light on other creators and stuff. And there's no reason for the petty BS and the selfish, jealous crap and things like that. And that's something Charter, not only do they preach it, but they walk it. I mean, they're sharing out other artists that's not signed with Charter, and they're sharing out their content where they're doing Kickstarters or they're doing shows, et cetera, et cetera. There's enough room for everybody now.
Oh, absolutely. And that is something that, once I give y'all your time with full screen, which I'm about to do, go ahead and let people know why they need to get over there and support y'all in any way they can on your current campaigns and on any work that you've got in the future as well. Don't think that just because you're going over there, it's a current campaign, one and done. You're building on the future of each one of these creators and everyone else that they work with, which is a huge thing. And I'm going to go ahead and lead into what I always do at this point and say, we've got 2 hashtags on this show that I am currently promoting very hard, one of which is Voice of the Indies. I was actually given that name by Larry Higgins, Niobe Comics, gave me the name of Voice of the Indies because he likes my show and everything, which was great, and I was honored. However, Voice of the Indies is not a one-person name. It is a conglomerate, is the way I look at it. Voice of the Indies is everyone gathering together and sharing everyone's stuff out there to get the Voice of the Indies even louder. Shining a flashlight into one area gets you to light up a little bit of an area. Shining a whole bunch of flashlights over there is like taking a Q-beam over in someone's eyes and saying, you will pay attention to us. So Voice of the Indies is a huge thing, and make sure you pay attention to that. The other one, and this is leading directly into going into the full screen with each one of these, Power of the Finger, the correct one if you can. But Power of the Finger means to get in there, you can't monetarily back every single thing that's out there. We all know this. No one's going to sit up here and point fingers and say, we're blaming everyone that's out there that's watching this right now because you can't monetarily back everything. Nobody's doing that. The thing is, though, Power of the Finger means you can share everything that's out there. It takes you just a moment of your time to share things that are out there. Number one, it kicks the algorithm. It'll pop the algorithm and more eyes on it. Something else that a lot of people don't really realize on this, though, you share something out and the creator sees that you shared it out. It's just a little boost to their momentum. You know, William sees that I share something out and William's like, oh, you think that's something worth sharing? Let me show you the next thing. Wait till you see this coming up. It just gives them that little boost. Same thing with every, other one of the creators up here. It's the same thing. They're all human. We've proven that through the show. No red eyes have been shown on here, so they're all human. So they all have the emotion factor in there. So share these things out to make sure that their momentum is put up there. So we're going to start off with the Voice of the Indies and get a little bit louder up here. I'm going to start off with ladies first. I've got to. I'm a gentleman. So Madeleine, you've got full screen on this. Let them know why they need to go over there and support your campaign in any way they possibly can.
Okay. I actually thought you were going to bring up the Kickstarter page, but that's okay too. Well, first of all, it's a brand new series. So if you are new to it, new story, you don't have to necessarily know what's going on before because there is a prologue that comes with it that gets you right up to date. But you get to dive into a steampunk supernatural world, which is filled with mystery, interesting characters. Some of them are historical characters from American history. And there's airships. Should I say more? We get to see an actual real airship this time. But yeah, I delve a lot into the mystery of what's going on here. And what was a real pleasure for me and was to introduce Angela Wu, who's our cover artist. She's been in the business, but she's young, but man, is she good. And she's doing our two main covers. And then we have Rio Burton doing one variant and Steph C doing another. And it's just beautiful work. So if you like mystery and beautiful work and with a little sci-fi and lots of character development, then Boston Metaphysical Mystery at Pikes Peak is the one for you.
There you go. And whenever you mention airships, I just want to throw out there, not the Chinese balloon ones, though. It's totally different.
No.
Now, whenever I had you up full screen, I noticed that Don was back here fixing his hair. So we're going to give Don full screen on this one now. He's going to let us know why you need to go over there and support on his as well.
So, yeah. So, if you like fun comics, you'll like my stuff. Yeah, I'm a big nerd for sci-fi action adventure. That's your bag. I'm your spot. So again, www.dorkempireinc.bigcartel.com to see all the cool stuff. I have art, I have merch, I have original artwork for sale for my pencils. So come have fun with me. I do this for fun. It's not my day job. It's not to make money. I do it because I love it, and I think that shows in my books.
That is awesome, right there, showing the passion that you've got in the industry and everything, and what you do, and putting it straight out there, saying this is what you do for fun, because no one is millionaires, doing this thing. And if you come in here thinking that you're going to be a new creator and become a millionaire, it just doesn't happen. Sorry to bust anyone's bubble out there that's watching this, but it doesn't. Sorry, don't kill the messenger. Lee, we're going to talk about what scares you. See what I did there? We're going to give you full screen and go ahead and go Red Scare on this one.
All right. Red Scare, if you like action, horror, great characters with a great storyline, you need to check it out. The first issue really introduced you to all the main players, and with the second issue, we get into the meat of the story, and Scott Wilkie has crafted a really great story. We're going to meet some new characters in issue 2 that really play a big part in this as well. So, yeah, we got some great rewards. We got some original art still left. You still got a chance to be drawn in the book as a character. So yeah, check it out. It's good stuff.
Hey, we're definitely looking forward to that and seeing what scares everyone else out there in going ahead and paying attention to this campaign. You don't want to miss out on this thing. There's a lot of good material that's out there. Each one of these has some great material that's out there. William's about to get full screen on this one. Before I give him full screen, I want to go ahead and bring up something very quickly, because this is an official announcement, kind of like, we're doing this as no one else has had this an exclusive to my show, because I can do that. I love this power. But I don't talk about my stuff that I do on the shows. It's always about my creators' time that's up here. The only reason I'm bringing up something about me on this one is because it directly correlates to William on this one, because I have my first published work is coming out. I co-wrote a series that we're starting up that will be kickstarted the end of May called Voices in the Dark. It is co-written by myself and Tim Ingram of Lost Hope Entertainment. And we have William Russell will be doing a Kickstarter exclusive cover for our book whenever it comes out. We are so excited, pumped, psyched, whatever it is. Yeah, we're like that. Honored, very much honored. So William, full screen on this one. Let them know why they need to go over there and support your campaign and pay attention to your work that's coming up in the future as well.
Yeah, for sure, man. And I definitely appreciate you and Tim touching base with me to do a cover for you guys too, man. I'm super excited about it. Yeah, if Psycho Sal is definitely one of those books where we're trying to push the envelope. If you're into horror comics, if you're into classic kind of whodunit, trying to figure out who the killer could be, it should be right up your alley. Like I said, we're on issue number 3 right now that's in Kickstarter. It'll end sometime the end of this month. We're about to pass the 5K mark. We've got another stretch goal at 5,500, but I've got a lot of great artists on this Kickstarter. Steph Wilson, DJ Hall, Monty Anderson, Marcelo's doing another cover for me. Then we also have the great Tone Rodriguez doing a cover for me. And then, of course, we have Miko. Everyone should know who Miko is. He did an incredible cover for the book, absolutely killed it. But it's one of those reads. Like I said, we're breaking the mold on the way serial killers have been done in the past, and we wanted to create something that really has you paranoid, looking over your shoulder when you get in your car at night, that kind of thing to it. There's a lot more to come. Issue number 1 and 2, we're setting up characters and explaining the concept of what's going on. And issue number 3, all hell has broken loose. And it's going to be that way from issue 3 till issue 9. It will definitely be, pedal to the metal from this point forward. So, yeah, for sure. Go check it out. Check out the Kickstarter, the great artists that have contributed to it. They have definitely swung for the fences. I definitely want to thank, McLean for being project manager, him and Chris. McLean doing the lettering, and Lisa and them doing the editing, and Chris doing the writing, everything for these past 3 books. Absolutely killed it. I could not have done it without those guys. Marcelo handling some of the panel pages on the interiors for me, things like that. But yeah, definitely go check out Kickstarter and make sure you guys are ready for Phil's and Tim's book in May. So yeah.
Yes, definitely looking forward to I'm interested to see how the series of Psycho Sal is going to go. Like you said, with it ending this arc of, this writing and then going into a different style, that just changes the game right there. It's like, as soon as you get into it and you're enjoying the story, you're like, wait a minute, it's about to get different in a very different way. So, and it's very interesting to see that, because what we talked about tonight is perspective. You didn't notice it as I was going through here, but I had motive to all of this. I'd have evil plans. I'm telling you, I do. But perspective was the main thing, because every one of these creators have different perspectives in what they do and in how they present it. And everyone who is out here watching right now and be watching later on has different perspectives on what they see. So it's all about your perspective on what you see and what you perceive on there. So moving forward, it's the same challenge it is every week with this show now. What are you going to do to increase the voice of the indies together today? Now, that's not saying pointing fingers. That's not like I'm sitting here going, you didn't do your work, you didn't do anything, you just sat down the whole time. It's not a matter of that. It's a matter of what are you going to do? It's a simple challenge saying you can do something now. You don't have to feel like hey, I can't afford this right now, so I can't really do anything to support you. I'm sorry. Well, you can share it out. It's very, very simple to do that. And I'm going to tell you right now how important it is. If you did back any of these physically, financially, go back and share it afterwards. You would not imagine the algorithm pop that you get off of that happens to their campaigns with that is phenomenal. A lot of people are not aware of that. So keep that in mind whenever you're out there and going ahead and doing these things as well. But that's how we're going to go ahead and end this thing is what are you planning on doing to increase the voice of the indies together today as a conglomerate? Not one person as a voice of the indies. There is no one person. It's all of us working together on this. So share things out. If you want to go ahead and share all of these out, all of the links are in the feeds on these. Share them out. Everyone would be more than happy to see those things going out in shares and seeing what happens with it. You never know what happens. Attitude is infectious. Keep that in mind. You get things moving around, you never know where it's going to go. But we try to push positivity on the show, and I'm not changing that for any time soon. So until next time, I want to thank every one of my guests for being on here. Madeleine, William, Dawn, and Lee on here. We had a great show, great time. It was a hell of a panel tonight. So I'll be looking forward to seeing what all y'all have coming up in the near future as well. And William, we got some planning to do here pretty soon on that cover. Yep. Looking forward to that. So
thank you, Phil. Thank you, Phil. Nice seeing you, Don. Nice seeing you, Lee.
Nice seeing you, Madeleine.
Keep it in, y'all.
Guys.
Bye.